My own brother tried to steal my inheritance while I was at our father's funeral. What he didn't know was that I'd been recording every conversation for the past 6 months. The look on his face when I played back his own words, let me tell you exactly how this unfolded. It started 3 days after Dad's burial. I was still wearing the same black dress I'd bought for the service, sitting in his empty kitchen, when Marcus walked in like he owned the place. Which apparently he thought he did. Sarah, we need to talk. He didn't even look at me, just started opening cabinets like he was taking inventory. I've been thinking about the house situation. The house situation. That's what he called our childhood home where Dad had lived alone for 15 years after Mom passed. The house where I'd spent every weekend for the past 2 years, bringing groceries, cleaning, making sure Dad took his medications. The house Marcus had visited exactly 4 times in those same 2 years. What about it? I kept my voice steady, though something cold was already settling in my stomach. Marcus pulled out a chair and sat down across from me. He had that expression he'd worn since we were kids, the one that said he was about to explain something obvious to someone too stupid to understand it on their own. Look, I know Dad's will says the house goes to both of us equally, but let's be realistic here. You're a part-time bookkeeper living in a studio apartment. I've got the real estate connections, the business sense, the capital to actually do something with this property. I blinked. Do something with it? Sarah, this place is worth $600,000, maybe more with the right renovations. But it needs work. New roof, updated electrical, kitchen renovation. You don't have that kind of money. He leaned forward, his voice taking on that patient tone he used when he thought he was being generous. I'm willing to buy out your half.
Right now. Cash.
200,000. 200,000. For half of a $600,000 house. I'd been doing books for small businesses for 8 years. I could do that math in my sleep. That's not half, Marcus. It's fair market value for your half, considering the condition and the work needed. Plus, think about it. When would you ever see that kind of money again? You could get a nice apartment, maybe even a small condo. I stared at him. This was my brother. The person who used to build blanket forts with me.
Who taught me to ride a bike.
Who'd stood next to me at both our parents' funerals. I need time to think about it. Don't take too long. I've got investors interested, but they want to move fast. Market's hot right now. After he left, I sat in Dad's recliner for 3 hours. The house felt different now, like the walls were listening. That's when I remembered something Dad had told me about 6 months ago, when he'd first gotten really sick. People show you who they really are when they think you're not paying attention, he'd said. We were sitting in this same kitchen, and he was having one of his clearer days. Your mother always said you had good instincts, Sarah. Trust them. That night, I called my friend Janet. She'd been a paralegal for 20 years before retiring. Something doesn't feel right, I told her. Marcus is pushing too hard, too fast. What does your gut tell you? That he's been planning this for a while. Then maybe you should start paying closer attention to what he's really doing. That's when I made the decision that changed everything. I downloaded a recording app on my phone. I wish I could say I was being paranoid, but over the next 2 weeks, Marcus called me 11 times. Each conversation was a masterclass in manipulation, and I recorded every single one. Sarah, I hate to pressure you, but my investors are getting impatient, he said during call number 3. They're threatening to pull out if we don't move by next Friday. What investors, Marcus? You haven't even told me their names. It's a private group. Very exclusive. They don't like their information shared. By call number 7, his tone had shifted. You're being unreasonable. Dad would want what's best for both of us. And this is what's best. You're letting emotions cloud your judgment. Maybe I should talk to a lawyer. A lawyer? He laughed, but it sounded forced. Sarah, lawyers cost money. Money you don't have. This is family business. We can handle it ourselves. Call number 11 was different. Marcus sounded drunk. You know what your problem is, Sarah? You've always been too small-minded to see the big picture. Even Dad knew it. Why do you think he left me as executor of the estate? That was news to me. I'd been too grief-stricken to read the will carefully, but I pulled it out that night. Marcus wasn't the executor. The family lawyer, Mr. Henderson, was. The next morning, I called Henderson's office. Miss Chun, I'm glad you called. I've been trying to reach you for 2 weeks. Your brother has been very persistent about expediting the estate process. Persistent how? He's requested multiple meetings about selling the house. He seems to be under the impression that he has authority to make decisions on behalf of the estate. Does he? Absolutely not. Both beneficiaries must agree to any sale, and even then, it has to go through proper probate procedures. Has he told you otherwise? My hands were shaking. He's been pressuring me to sell him my half. Miss Chun, I think you should come in. Today, if possible. Henderson's office was in one of those old downtown buildings with creaky floors and tall windows. He was older than I'd expected, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Your brother has been calling my office almost daily, he said, pulling out a thick file. He's claimed that you're eager to sell, that you've agreed to his terms, and that you're just waiting for the paperwork. That's not true. I didn't think so. In 40 years of practice, I've learned to spot the difference between someone who's genuinely ready to sell and someone who's being pushed. He leaned back in his chair. Tell me what's really been happening. I told him everything. The lowball offer, the mysterious investors, the pressure tactics. When I mentioned the recordings, his eyebrows went up. You recorded your conversations? Was that wrong? Not at all. In this state, you only need one party's consent to record a conversation. And given what you've told me, those recordings might be very useful. Useful how? Your brother appears to be engaging in what we call undue influence. He's using his position as your close family member to pressure you into a financial decision that's clearly not in your best interest. The recordings could prove that. Henderson scheduled a meeting for the following Friday. Both Marcus and I were to attend, along with our individual lawyers if we chose to bring them. I can't afford a lawyer, I told him. For now, I can represent the estate's interests, which includes protecting both beneficiaries from exploitation. But Sarah, I want you to understand something. This isn't just about money. This is about family. Once you go down this road, there's no going back. I thought about Dad's words. About trust. About paying attention. I understand. The meeting was set for 2 o'clock on Friday. I spent the morning cleaning Dad's house, which had become my refuge over the past month. I'd been staying there most nights, finding comfort in the familiar sounds and smells. At 1:30, I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard Marcus's voice outside. He was on his phone, standing in the driveway. Yeah, she'll sign today. I guarantee it. She's been living in that house like some kind of squatter, but she can't afford to keep it anyway. I moved closer to the window. $200,000 is more than fair for her half. Hell, it's generous. She's never owned anything worth more than her 10-year-old Honda. My hands clenched around my coffee mug. Trust me, by this time next week, we'll have the whole property. She'll take the money and disappear back to her little apartment and her little life. He hung up and walked toward the front door. I met him there before he could knock. Ready to get this over with? He asked, like we were heading to a routine dental appointment. More than ready. Henderson's conference room had a long wooden table and oil paintings of stern-looking men in suits. Marcus sat across from me, drumming his fingers on the table. Before we begin, Henderson said, I want to make sure both parties understand what we're discussing today. This meeting is about the potential sale of the family home left to both of you in equal shares. Right, Marcus said. Sarah's agreed to sell me her half for $200,000. We just need to make it official. Actually, I said, I haven't agreed to anything. Marcus's finger drumming stopped. What? I said I needed time to think about it. I've been thinking. Sarah, we've been over this. You can't afford to keep the house. This is the best offer you're going to get. Henderson opened his folder. Mr. Chen, I've reviewed the property assessment. The house is valued at $650,000 in its current condition. Your offer represents approximately 30% of your sister's legal share. Marcus's face went red. The house needs work. Major work. According to the assessment, it needs minor cosmetic updates and standard maintenance. Nothing that would justify such a significant reduction in value. What assessment? Who ordered an assessment? I did, I said quietly. Last week. Marcus stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You did what? I hired a professional appraiser. Paid for it myself. I pulled out the report. The house is in excellent condition. Dad took better care of it than we realized. Sarah, what's gotten into you? Since when do you know anything about real estate? Since I started paying attention. Henderson cleared his throat. There's another matter we need to discuss. Mr. Chin, you've been telling people that your sister has already agreed to sell. You've also been representing yourself as having authority over estate decisions. I never said that. Actually, I said, reaching into my purse. You did. I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. Marcus's voice filled the room. Yeah, she'll sign today. I guarantee it. She's been living in that house like some kind of squatter, but she can't afford to keep it anyway. The color drained from his face. 200,000 is more than fair for her half. Hell, it's generous. She's never owned anything worth more than her 10-year-old Honda. I let it play for another 30 seconds, then stopped it. That was recorded in Dad's driveway an hour ago. I have 11 other recordings of our conversations over the past 2 weeks. Would you like to hear those too? Marcus looked like he was having trouble breathing. You recorded me? I recorded us. Every conversation where you pressured me, lied to me, or talked about me like I was too stupid to understand what you were doing. Henderson was taking notes. Mr. Chen, these recordings suggest a pattern of undue influence and misrepresentation. That's a serious matter. She's my sister. We were just talking. You were manipulating, I said, and my voice was steadier than I felt. You lied about having investors. You lied about being the executor. You lied about the house's condition. You tried to pressure me into selling my inheritance for a fraction of its value. Marcus stood up, so fast his chair rolled backward. Sarah, you're being ridiculous. This is family business. We don't need lawyers and recordings and all this formal crap. Sit down, Marcus. Something in my voice made him freeze. I'd never used that tone with him before. You want to know what Dad told me before he died? He said people show you who they really are when they think you're not paying attention. For the past month, I've been paying very close attention. I pressed play again. This time it was his voice from call number 11. You know what your problem is, Sarah? You've always been too small-minded to see the big picture. Even Dad knew it. Marcus sank back into his chair. You thought I was too stupid to notice what you were doing. Too weak to fight back. Too poor to matter. I leaned forward. But here's what you didn't know about your small-minded little sister. I pulled out another folder. I've been doing books for Hartwell Construction for 3 years. Small company, you probably never heard of them. But they specialize in historic home restoration. They've been looking for a property exactly like Dad's house for their next project. Marcus's eyes went wide. They offered me $800,000.
Cash.
For the whole house. That's impossible. The owner is sitting in the parking lot right now, waiting for my call. He's been waiting for 2 weeks, actually. Very patient man. Much more patient than your mysterious investors. I stood up and walked to the window. Sure enough, Tom Hartwell was sitting in his truck, reading a newspaper. But here's the thing, Marcus. I don't want to sell to him either. I want to keep the house. Our house. Dad's house. The house where we grew up, where Mom taught us to cook, where Dad read us bedtime stories. I turned back to face him. So here's what's going to happen. I'm buying out your half. $325,000. Fair market value. Take it or leave it. Marcus's mouth opened and closed like a fish. You don't have that kind of money. Actually, I do. Another folder came out of my purse. Remember how you said I was just a part-time bookkeeper living in a studio apartment? Well, you were half right. I am a bookkeeper. But I'm not part-time, and I don't live in a studio apartment. I spread the documents across the table. I own Chun Financial Services. I've been doing books for 43 small businesses across the city for the past 8 years. I incorporated 5 years ago. Last year, my company cleared $400,000 in profit. Marcus stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. The studio apartment? That's my office. I rent it because it's cheap and I don't need anything fancy to crunch numbers. My actual home is a 3-bedroom house in Riverside. Paid off.
No mortgage.
Henderson was smiling now, though he was trying to hide it. You assumed I was poor because I drive an old car and don't wear expensive clothes. You assumed I was stupid because I don't brag about my success. You assumed I was weak because I'm quiet. I sat back down across from my brother. But mostly, you assumed I would roll over and let you cheat me because that's what you've always done. Remember when we were kids, how you used to trade me your vegetables for my dessert? You told me vegetables were a special treat, that I was lucky you were sharing them with me. Marcus's face was gray now. I believed you because you were my big brother. I trusted you. Even when Mom found out and explained that you were lying, part of me still wanted to believe you were looking out for me. I pulled out my checkbook. $325,000, Marcus. That's my offer. It's fair, it's generous, and it's more than you deserve. Sarah, I'm not finished. He shut his mouth. If you don't take this offer, I have other options. I can buy out your half through the court system, which will take longer and cost more in legal fees. Or I can sell my half to Tom Hartwell, who's been very clear that he'd rather work with me than with you. I looked at Henderson. What would happen if I sold my half to an outside party? The new owner would become a 50% partner with your brother. They'd have legal rights to use the property, make decisions about its maintenance, and would need to approve any future sale. Marcus looked like he was going to be sick. You wouldn't. Try me. For the first time in our entire relationship, my brother looked at me like he was seeing me clearly. I don't understand how this happened, he said quietly. What happened is that you got greedy. You thought you could manipulate me into giving up my inheritance because you've always seen me as the weak little sister who would do anything to keep the peace. I signed the check and pushed it across the table. But I'm not that little girl anymore, Marcus. I haven't been for a long time. You just never bothered to notice. He stared at the check for a long moment, then picked it up with shaking hands. What about us? What about our family? We'll always be family. But we'll never be the same kind of family we were before this week. Henderson prepared the paperwork while we sat in silence. When it was done, Marcus signed his name with a pen that seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds. For what it's worth, he said as he stood to leave, I'm sorry. I know you are, but sorry doesn't change what you tried to do. After he left, Henderson and I sat in the quiet conference room for a few minutes. You handled that remarkably well, he said finally. I had a good teacher. My father always said that the best way to deal with a bully is to be prepared and stay calm. Your brother was bullying you. My brother was being my brother. He's always been like this. I just never had anything worth fighting for before. That evening, I sat in Dad's kitchen, my kitchen now, with a cup of tea and my phone. I scrolled through my contacts until I found the number I was looking for. Tom? It's Sarah Chin. I wanted to let you know that the house situation has been resolved. No, I'm not selling. I'm keeping it. Yes, I'm sure. But thank you for being so patient with me. It meant more than you know. 3 months later, I was painting the living room when my phone rang. It was Marcus. Sarah? I wanted to call and, I don't know, check on you, I guess.
I'm fine, Marcus.
How are you? I'm okay. I used the money to pay off some debts. Got my finances straightened out. That's good. Listen, I've been thinking about what happened. About what I did. I was wrong. Really wrong. I know. I guess I always thought. I don't know. That you needed taking care of. That you couldn't handle big decisions or complicated situations. I set down my paintbrush. Why did you think that? Because you never fought back. Even when we were kids, you'd just let things happen. You'd let people walk all over you. I wasn't letting people walk all over me, Marcus. I was choosing my battles. There's a difference. I see that now. We talked for another 20 minutes. It wasn't the same easy conversation we used to have, but it was honest.
Real.
Maybe better than before. That night, I walked through the house, turning off lights and checking locks. In Dad's study, I found the photo album Mom had kept of our childhood. There we were, Marcus and me, building a snowman in the backyard, blowing out birthday candles, opening Christmas presents. In every photo, I was smiling. Not the fake smile of someone who was being walked all over, but the genuine smile of someone who was happy, who felt safe, who trusted the people around her to love her. Maybe that wasn't weakness after all. Maybe that was strength. I keep the house now, exactly as Dad left it, but I've made it mine too. I've got a proper office set up in the spare bedroom, and I'm thinking about expanding Chin Financial Services. Maybe hiring some help. The funny thing is, people treat me differently now. Not because I've changed, but because I let them see who I really am. The quiet bookkeeper, who was always underestimated, turned out to be the person who had been paying attention all along. Marcus and I have dinner once a month now. He's different too, more respectful, more careful with his words. He asks my opinion on things. Business decisions. Family matters. Sometimes I think he's overcompensating, but mostly I think he's just learning to see me clearly for the first time. Last week, he brought his teenage son over to help me fix a leaky faucet. While they worked, I made sandwiches and listened to them talk. At one point, I heard Marcus tell his son, "Your Aunt Sarah is one of the smartest people I know. If you ever need advice about money or business, you should ask her." It was a small thing, but it mattered. People always ask me if I regret the confrontation, if I wish I'd just taken the money and avoided the whole mess. But here's what I learned. Sometimes the people who love you most are the ones who see you least clearly. They get comfortable with their version of who you are, and they stop looking for who you're becoming. Standing up for yourself isn't about being mean or vindictive. It's about refusing to let other people's limited vision of you become your reality. I still have those recordings on my phone. I probably always will. Not because I want to punish Marcus, but because they remind me of something important. I am not the person other people think I am just because they think it. I am the person I choose to be. And I choose to be someone who pays attention. Someone who stands up for herself. Someone who knows her own worth. The house is quiet now, but it's not empty. It's full of memories and possibilities. It's full of the woman I've always been, just waiting for the right moment to show herself. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's just refusing to be small when someone expects you to be. If you've ever been underestimated, if someone in your family has ever tried to make you feel less than you are, if you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and standing up for yourself, I want you to know that you're not alone. Your story matters too. Hit that subscribe button and share your story in the comments below.